Keep putting in that work. Keep putting in that work. You know why? You were almost there. You were almost there. It's gonna pay off. It's gonna pay off. And they don't want you to know that. They don't want to give you that.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Taylor, and this is the first ever episode of Tea with Taylor, where we're going to be talking about all things messy, bitter, and sweet. And today I am here with Kaya and Sierra, and we're going to be going over the topic of relationships. So the first question I have for you guys today is, what would you say is the biggest problem when it comes to dating and relationships in our generation today?
I feel like in our generation, people are, one, I feel like social media has impacted relationships. Two, I feel like people are so like very go. And that's what they want everything in their life to be, versus relationships, they take time. You know, you have to get to know the person. And I feel like sometimes with one little simple thing, people are quick to give up on it versus working through the issue. And, you know, because you like that person, y'all obviously start talking for a reason, so why not work through the issue rather than just give up on it?
That's true. I think people are just so concerned with what other people have to think. Like, I feel like people think it's lame to be in love or weird to have feelings for somebody when that's not the case. Like, that's normal. And then, like, it doesn't matter what anyone else is thinking as long as you're happy. Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. I think one of the biggest problems, I feel like people's expectations of, like, dating and relationships, and I think that gender, like, stereotypes play a lot into that. Like, dating nowadays, people are expecting, you know, their hair, their nails, their lashes to be done, to be all paid for, or, you know, people are looking for things like that. But in reality, it's like, we have to be real. In reality, we have to be real. And a lot of people can't afford to do that, upkeep costs that have nothing to do with them, truthfully. And so yeah, I really believe that is a huge, like, issue that plays into relationships in our generation today. So another question I have is, what are your thoughts on, like, people searching for 90s love with people who weren't born in the 90s?
I feel like the qualities of, like, 90s love, like, the biggest one I think of is A Different World.
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne and Whitley, the marriage scene specifically, and like how he kept fighting for her. Like, he didn't know what her answer was going to be, but he knew his feelings for her were there, and that, like, that connection with, I forgot his name, her fiance's name, but like he knew something and he was going for it, like he was fighting for it. So I believe like the qualities and like the aspects of a 90s love is very much valid, very much like, I want to feel like this person has me, like, no matter what. But I also feel like there should be like more of like, you know, I can understand wanting to live in that decade, but why not like take those qualities and like apply it to the now, like live in the now. I can understand like wanting to be in the 90s because, you know, that was a great time, great era, but like, you know, live your era, live your life in like what time you are in now. So 90s love, beautiful, but like for me personally, the qualities, yes, but not necessarily like how they went about everything.
I think it's a little bit unrealistic to ask of somebody to be this thing when they've never even experienced living in the 90s. Like, you can't say, I want you to be like, I don't know, Marlon Wayans in the 90s when they never experienced it. On top of the fact, we live in a completely different generation. Like, they didn't have the internet, they didn't have social media. Everybody's mindset right now, it's extremely different. They want to be trappers and finessers instead of getting you roses, flowers, chocolates outside your house with a boombox on their shoulder. Like, it's not, you're not getting that out of somebody who is listening to Boss Man D-Lo every day. I'm just going to call it a spade a spade.
I definitely agree with all of that. I feel like for me, the main thing is like, you can't expect things out of people who themselves have never, like I was saying, have never experienced those things, or maybe they've never seen those things. Like, if you never saw, like, you know, the way your parents interacted with each other in a loving way, like, it's going to be a lot harder for then you to go and reciprocate that to somebody else. And so I feel like, of course, the 90s love story, who doesn't want that? But at the end of the day, I think it's a little unrealistic to seek that in people who were born in the 2000s, because like the times have changed so drastically with social media or the internet as a whole, but also just people's mindsets are in a very different place. I feel like people aren't necessarily set on marriage when they date, or they're not set on like lasting relationships. I feel like right now we have a really prevalent hookup culture within our generation. So it's like getting to know people isn't even getting to know them to date them. It's just getting to know them to get to know them. So I don't know. And I guess leading into the next question would be like, how do you guys feel about like the talking stage as a whole? Do you feel like it is an excuse to just like not commit to somebody, or do you think it's just a period of time where it's just like you guys can have fun and hang out together, but there's no titles, there's no label? And of course I know you need to talk to people to get to know them, but I guess where does that line become I'm getting to know you versus this is all we're going to be?
I feel like that all starts with the communication between the two people. So me personally, I feel like the talking stage is necessary because talking/dating stage. So like, I feel like it's okay for people to date/talk to multiple people as long as that's expressed between everybody you're talking to or dating. Like, hey, I am talking to you, but I'm also talking to other people, like seeing what I feel is best for myself. Now, if you say like, oh no, it's just me and you talking, like I'm not worried about us, and it's a different case, that's where I feel like, no, okay, like that's not okay, because you're leading this person on and they're thinking, okay, it's just the two of us, and in reality you're talking to other people. Mm-hmm. So if they communicate that and say you do end up liking one person more than the other, or y'all are getting along rather than the other people you're talking to, when you start to feel that way and start to feel like, okay, this could be something serious, that's where you have to draw the line with everybody else and be like, hey, like I don't think this is going any further. And also setting those boundaries with those people to where it's not necessarily too much to where it's leading somebody on, in the sense that like we're going towards a relationship when you're talking to multiple people. So setting those boundaries is important, but also I feel like communication is the biggest thing.
I feel like talking is really important. Of course, you're trying to get to know somebody, but I feel like talking has to eventually evolve into something else, either ending it at talking or progressing into something else, unless like otherwise you're kind of just wasting each other's time.
Exactly.
Especially if you're headstrong on wanting to be with this person and you feel like something else could develop, you guys have to make sure that either something can develop or y'all are gonna not waste each other's time at that point.
Yeah. So I'm very curious. What's the longest talking stages you guys have been in?
I'm going to say what are numbers? Let's say probably like
A rough estimate.
okay, probably like a month, maybe a month and a half, maybe. Yeah.
Me personally, I would say it was like maybe 2.5 weeks. I feel like looking back, it probably could have been, a little longer. But yeah, 2.5 weeks.
Pretty much so my next caller. Yeah. Okay, so then based off of that, what would you guys say is the longest time you would commit to a talking stage? Because some people have this 3-month rule. We can talk for 3 months. After 3 months, if you don't want to commit to dating me, then we're done. Is 3 months too long?
Yes. I feel like month and a half, depending on how y'all communication is going. If y'all talking on a regular basis, y'all are hanging out, in your mind whether or not you see something with this person, or it's like, oh, okay, like I don't want to take this any further. Mm-hmm. So 3 months, at that point, you're just like what are you doing? You're wasting your time at that point. I feel like month and a half at the most, whether you're taking this person serious or not.
Yeah, truthfully, that month and a half felt like a really long time. So I say that's kind of like really the cap. Like,
yeah.
After that point, you guys, like Sierra said, y'all should have like a feeling of where this is headed. Mm-hmm. And if that feeling's not there, maybe
something.
Yeah.
It's time.
Good.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I think in my head, 3 months is a quarter of the year. That's a long time.
That's how you're
When
supposed to think
you
about
break it down like that, that's a quarter of the year.
That's
What
a
are
whole
you
season,
What are you
babes.
doing?
Right.
No, for me, I'm just kind of one of those people who's like, is it yes or is it no? So, is it yes or is it no? Truthfully, to me, it can be decided in a week. But I'll see it through. Got to see it through. But 3 months is an absolutely not. I see people on TikTok all the time, and every comments is like, yeah, 3 month through. I'm like, 3 months.
No.
You wasted a quarter of your year on one person, and you didn't know if it was gonna work or not. Mm-mm. So, transitioning into our last topic we're gonna talk about today, it's about the concepts and the ideas of Icks. I find this very funny because I feel like they started off being very like legitimate, and then they kind of turned into just being excuses to like hate on people for doing very human things.
Right.
And on TikTok, I'll be scrolling through it like, oh, I got the ick because he dropped his napkin, he was bending over to grab it. It's just like, what? Was he supposed to just not do that? Like, it's like little things like that where it's like, I think we've changed the definition of an ick. So, my first question is, what are your guys' icks that are valid?
Valid. I don't.
To be honest, I feel like an ick is like, for me personally, I feel like for an ick, I feel like it's on a like case by case basis.
Yeah.
Like I don't
And that's
necessarily
okay.
have like I can't say like this is an ick for everybody. If I would say it's an ick for everybody, that would just be a personal pet peeve. I feel like an ick is more like they did something and it just like rubbed me the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? Versus like a pet peeve is just like if anybody does this, it's going to get on my nerves because I don't like it. So I would say it's on a case by case basis. So I can't really say what my icks are.
Yeah. Same thing. I feel like if I see something, it's just kind of like, ooh, that's my ick in the moment. But I can't say if this person does it, I'm gonna feel the same way because it's like
Maybe when they did it wasn't that bad.
maybe it wasn't that bad.
So-
but when you did it, ooh.
So then, based off of that, do you guys feel like icks are maybe like excuses to like, not saying walk away from somebody, but to be like, maybe not you?
Sometimes it can be. Sometimes I'm not gonna lie.
Like
use
just
my ick
because
and
you
it's just
did
like,
that, it's a
yeah, that was the final straw.
That-
Broke the camel's back.
I feel like it depends on what the ick is. Like you said, if it's like, oh, he bent over to pick up his napkin, like something
What if he
silly like
bent over
that.
to pick up his napkin and he saw a little crack?
but that's a pet peeve because if anybody did that, that would be like, what are you doing? That would be a pause for anybody. But specifically because you did this and I was romantically pursuing you,
Yeah.
like
That's it.
unfortunately, this is beyond your pet peeve.
Pull
Because
down the shirt.
if somebody maybe that was just my friend did that, it's just like, okay, I'm not associated with that per se, but if I'm looking to date you or I am dating you and your crack is out, it's just like that affects me. Because you're my man and your booty is out in public. Like, I think that's when it becomes an ick. Because it's a pet peeve, yeah, it applies to everybody, but an ick, I feel like if it also affects me, and me and you are a we, that can't be.
They're right.
No. So, okay, so then, based off of that, I guess, what are the levels of an ick? Like, the most minimal thing to, like, the most vicious magnitude of an ick.
I feel like for me personally, I need a man to be a man. Like I'm sorry, but like you do anything like that's a little too feminine, a little too, como se say, sassy. I would say that's one of like my top, like that's like 10 out of 10 ick because it's like I'm the woman. You're not. Like I feel like that's one thing that would like you're catching an attitude with me because I have an attitude. No, like what are you doing? No, like so anything that's like just a little too feminine, a little too sassy. I feel like that's my top ick. I don't
So
necessarily say
that's the it.
like that's the one
That's the one that will give me the turnaround and walk away.
I don't know if I would necessarily cut it off, but I would definitely have to have a sit down one-on-one and say, look, this
Sass.
yeah, we need to cut it, or yeah, we're just gonna
need to cut it.
yeah, something has to be
I just have
fixed.
to keep that, like, if this continues any longer.
So that is grounds for a conversation.
Yeah.
You're too sassy for me.
Because it's just like,
To be a fly on the wall for that conversation.
you know, you're the man. Why are you the sassy one? Why do you have more attitude than I did?
So it's like the sass to spare needs to be spared. Copy that.
Pretty good.
Alrighty, well I think that pretty much concludes our conversation on relationships for today. Again, I'm your host Taylor, and this has been Tea with Taylor with Kaya and Sierra, and we'll see you in the next one.
Keep putting in that work. Keep putting in that work. You know why? You were almost there. You were almost there. It's gonna pay off. It's gonna pay off. And they don't want you to know that. They don't want